Hi, everybody. This is Jill, the private investigator from Privately Investigating. Hi, everybody. This is Jill, the private investigator from Privately Investigating. I wanted to come on here. I've been dying to make this video about Andy Moorman, Suzanne Morphew's brother. He's had a lot to say lately, and sadly, it doesn't look in Barry's favor. I would like to mention I had on my last video a comment that, let's say, wasn't very nice. A woman told me that that I should be supporting, or we should all be supporting, the family and pretty much leave Barry alone and support him as well. Well, I responded back to her and told her we are supporting the family. Barry, on the other hand, has stayed silent and hidden oddly. Sorry, I'm just stating the facts. And of course, she made another comment that said that what was the second one? That, all of my facts were wrong. So I asked her, please do tell. I would be more than glad to correct it. So I don't know if we have a Barry fan out there. Starting to look that way, guys. But I want to start with Andy Moorman, her brother, Suzanne Morphew's brother. You guys, it's been 4 months. It's about time that this lady is found. I think that Barry needs to come forward, and since, from what Andy says, his truck data is not matching up to his story, I think it's about time that Barry comes out and tells exactly what that meant, or should I say, why has he been so quiet? And why now? Why defend himself? So I made a lot of notes, so you'll have to excuse me. But we are on editing now, so we'll see how good this video turns out. This is my first rodeo, bear with me. Now, the first thing I want to start with is Barry Morphew's statement that he gave on Court TV, stating to Barry Morphew, "Do not be a coward. Take law enforcement to her so we can bring her home." Now, Andy's information, when he first started speaking to different people, you could tell there was a lot that he thought and wanted to say, but I think he just felt that it wasn't the right time. But once he saw that everyone else was starting to look at the case, look at him, talk about it quite a bit, and now he's coming out to defend himself. So he isn't telling where she's at, but he's definitely defending himself after saying nothing. The deafening silence for so very long. So now, after he said that on the it was Court TV that he had made that statement. Now, he also spoke to someone else and did an interview. Now, he said about Suzanne and Barry Morphew's relationship that he got secondhand, Andy Moorman got secondhand information that there had been talk of a divorce, whether it had been Suzanne threatening a divorce or stating that she wanted a divorce. I had mentioned in my other videos exactly how difficult it is on a family to go through a stressful situation such as cancer. Now, she had literally just beat that second round of cancer, sadly, and now she's gone and cannot enjoy her life that she fought for so many times. Now, also, Andy Moorman has a real problem with his story about the tools he took to this job in Denver. He has a lot of questions and disbeliefs when it comes to Barry Morphew's story on what exactly he did with this job. Now, let's keep in mind that that job he had known about for a month, a solid month, that he had to redo it. He didn't hire this Jeff Puckett until the Saturday before. Now, Andy Moorman has also stated that there were no tools. The whole hotel situation was just BS. And he doesn't believe it in the least. He thinks that it was more of a ruse instead of the truth. Now, they cannot find, according to Andy Moorman, her brother, they cannot find her cell phone. The last ping on her cell phone was in the home. Andy Moorman said that the phone must be inoperable or damaged. It is not pinged anywhere. It has not been found. But the last ping was Saturday evening, or Saturday, should I say, and it was at the house. So that takes you back to the things that happened Saturday night. The lady next to the job site here and the equipment running through the night, the weird hotel room thing that we've learned about, there not being any tools to do this job that he knew about for a month and didn't hire anybody until the very last minute. So all of that seems odd at best. Now also, let me find where, I'll get to it eventually. But, so the last ping was in the house. And Andy Moorman also echoed what I said about the search warrants. I believe that they found something that gave them reason to go back in. And not even to mention to go to his job site and cut up freshly poured concrete. That's pretty difficult to do, to say the least. Now, Barry Morphew also originally said, according to Andy Moorman, that he was at a firefighter training course that day, but then it turned into the job and all the crazy story that went along with it. The hiring the day before, the hotel, the whole incident. So he said he had the firemen's meeting. He also asked the neighbor. Now let's talk about the bike for a second, because in my last video where I reported that the neighbor had gone next door and saw Suzanne and her daughter's car in the garage, and Suzanne was not there. Well, when the neighbor had come back to tell him this information, Barry Morphew, his first thing was, "Can you go check if her bike's there? Can you go check if her bike's there?" Okay. Can you go check if her bike's there? Oh, they conveniently found a bike, but nothing else, not even her phone. Why she would even have her phone on a bike ride if the cell service was so terrible in that area. I don't know, it just does not add up whatsoever. But he asked the neighbor to go back and look for the bike. And then that's when the bike story took off. So now, Andy also talked about the conversation with her best friend. Now, the wedding, I was mistaken. The wedding had already happened. The best friend was showing her pictures of the flowers, tuxedos, etc. And Suzanne was supposed to have been there, but due to COVID-19, she was not able to make that trip. So, also, what was it that I wanted to add about it? I cannot remember, but we'll move on because I'm sure we'll get back to it. There's a lot to say about this and a lot to think about. I'm going to try to put the tip line up on here and leave it up there for anyone. I mean, you never know who's watching. And if you have any information regarding Suzanne Morphew, I just ask that you please, please call the tip line and help bring this poor, beautiful woman home. Now, Andy Moorman also said that law enforcement knows more than I can tell you. He also went as far as to say, when asked if there were any other suspects, Andy Moorman blatantly said, there's only one. Now, I bet that we can figure out who that one is. I don't think it would take long. Now, also, one thing that I want to talk about that really, really bothers me. Andy Moorman said that, and for good reason. I'm so sure of it. I mean, Suzanne had moved within maybe 2 years to the middle of nowhere, away from everything she knew and loved. Then became sick with cancer again. And so before I think it was before her last cancer scare, Suzanne had fallen into a bit of depression. And Barry Morphew really came down on her hard and ridiculed her for having to take medication for depression. I think that's pretty narrow-minded and goes to show a little bit of his demeanor and personality, just like John Schmitz had said, his demeanor, and he could see evil in his eyes. It goes to say a lot. This discovery at the end of the day should be packed full of a bunch of information that will probably blow our minds, because this is enough to really floor you, but I can't imagine what's coming next. So, like I said, the law enforcement knows a lot more than what Andy Moorman can say. Now, CBI said to Andy Moorman that Barry Morphew did not take a lie detector test or voice stress analysis test because he refused it. If you have nothing to do with your wife's disappearance and you are in a desperate mode to get a hold of her, find her, bring her home, I just can't imagine why you wouldn't quickly, hey, show me exactly where to go. I will be there. Anytime you name the place, if he had nothing to do with it, that goes along with his deafening silence. He just is not presenting himself as an innocent man. But he is innocent until a court of law proves him guilty. I would love to speak to Barry Morphew. I have a lot of questions that I would ask him. If he felt he didn't have to answer them, that would be fine too. But I would love to speak to him. So, Barry, if you happen to stumble upon my channel, please get a hold of me. I will leave my email in the description.